Oh, I've had a relationship with all my guys. I can't sell anything. Oh, no, I never sell anything. Oh,
November
God.
2022. Burbank, California, inside a private garage filled with machines from another century, Jay Leno is crouched beside a 1907 white steam car. The vehicle is beautiful, rare, and dangerously temperamental. Steam cars do not behave like modern automobiles. They demand patience, experience, and respect. Leno has all three. He has spent decades repairing engines.
What the fuck are you doing? Get off of me!
Sorry, my mistake.
Collecting vehicles, and learning the strange personalities of machines most people have only seen in museums. At 72 years old, he still works with his own hands. No protective glass, no velvet rope, no mechanic doing the dangerous part for him. Then, something goes wrong. A fuel line becomes clogged. Leno leans underneath the car and asks a friend to push air through the system. The blockage suddenly releases. Gasoline sprays across his face. A pilot light ignites it. In an instant, the man who spent
I just buy another building.
So how much
30 years making America laugh is trapped inside a wall of fire. His face, chest, neck, and hands are burning. His friend pulls him from beneath the car and smothers the flames. An ambulance is called, but Leno initially refuses to go directly to the hospital. His reason is almost unbelievable. His wife, Mavis, has dementia, and he does not want her to be alone or frightened. So before entering a burn unit, before the surgeries, before doctors begin removing damaged tissue from his face, Jay Leno goes home to make sure his wife understands what has happened. 10 days later, with fresh skin grafts and bandages still covering parts of his body, Leno walks out of the hospital. 6 days after that, he performs stand-up comedy.
At my age, I shouldn't have to know all of Jay-Z's music, okay? You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
The audience laughs because Jay is joking again. But behind the jokes is a disturbing question. Why does this man seem physically incapable of stopping? And why, only 2 months after nearly burning to death, would he climb onto a motorcycle and almost destroy his body all over again? To understand that, you have to go back to a classroom in Massachusetts where a young boy was quietly receiving a message that would shape the rest of his life. You are not smart enough. Jay Leno was born in 1950 in New Rochelle, New York, to Angelo Leno, an insurance salesman, and Catherine Leno, a Scottish immigrant. The family later settled in Andover, Massachusetts. His childhood was not defined by poverty, scandal, or tragedy. By most appearances, it was ordinary. But school was a daily humiliation. Letters seemed to move. Words did not remain stable on the page.
These are all Bugattis. Everything here is almost...
Assignments that other children completed quickly felt like locked doors. Teachers saw a student who was distracted, slow, or unwilling to apply himself. What they did not see was dyslexia. At the time, learning disabilities were poorly understood. Children were rarely assessed with the knowledge available today. Instead of receiving support, many were simply labeled lazy, careless, or unintelligent. Jay learned to survive by becoming funny. When he did not know an answer, he made the class laugh. When a teacher became frustrated with him, he redirected the embarrassment into a joke. Humor gave him something academics could not control. A field answer could make him look foolish. A punchline made foolishness his decision. Years later, Leno recalled that a school counselor warned his mother that her son probably was not college material. The verdict was not dramatic. There was no shouting, no cruel movie villain, and no door slammed in his face. That almost
getting together and building the car?
Well, the great fun is getting together and building the car. And once you finish it, you move on to the next project.
Worse. It was delivered like a professional conclusion. Jay was not expected to achieve very much. Imagine, for a moment, a fictional reconstruction based on what he has described. A teenage Jay sits at the kitchen table with a textbook open in front of him. The same paragraph has been there for 20 minutes. His father believes he should work harder. His teacher believes he should concentrate. Jay knows he is trying, but he cannot explain why the words refuse to cooperate. Then, outside the window, he hears an engine misfire. He closes the book, walks toward the sound, opens the hood of an old car, and listens. A page can confuse him. An engine makes sense. A machine does not care about spelling. It does not judge handwriting. It gives immediate and honest feedback. Fuel, air, compression, spark. something is wrong,
And their loss is my win.
Yeah, I gotta say, yeah.
or it is not. Find the problem, make the correction, and the engine comes alive. That imagined moment is not a documented event, but it captures the two escape routes that would eventually define Jay Leno's entire life: comedy and cars. One allowed him to control how people saw him. The other allowed him to prove with his own hands that he could solve difficult problems. Leno eventually entered Emerson College in Boston. Ironically, the boy who struggled to process written language studied speech therapy. College did not magically remove his difficulties. What it gave him was access to stages. He began performing comedy in small clubs and coffee houses around Boston. There was no viral clip waiting to launch him. No talent show capable of turning a single performance into instant fame. No social media audience following his progress. There were only rooms. Some were crowded, many were not. Some audiences listened, others talked over him. He performed wherever someone would
I mean, it's true. I go, so, where do you go to school? You know, what am I going to say to you?
let him hold a microphone. This is the part of success stories people usually compress into one sentence. He worked his way through the comedy circuit. But that sentence can hide years of rejection. Leno drove between clubs, sometimes performing several sets in one night. He slept in cheap motels, lived carefully, and accepted opportunities that paid very little because stage time mattered more than comfort. He developed a reputation for discipline. While other comedians treated the club scene like a permanent party, Leno treated it like factory work. Arrive early, write jokes, perform, study the reaction. Rewrite, perform again. He did not drink heavily, he did not disappear into drugs, he did not spend money pretending he had already become successful. He worked, and when comedy did not pay enough, he relied on another skill: fixing cars. There is a pattern beginning here. Whenever Jay Leno felt
Luckily, the cars were not hit in the gunfight.
Yeah, no. I think
uncertain, embarrassed, rejected, or afraid, he did not sit with the emotion. He found another task. Work was not simply something he did to earn money. It became the place where discomfort could be converted into motion. By the 1970s, Leno had moved deeper into the Los Angeles comedy scene. He performed at places such as the Comedy Store, sharing stages with a generation that would reshape American comedy. He appeared briefly in films and television programs. In 1977, he made his first appearance on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. That appearance mattered enormously. Johnny Carson was not merely another television host. For comedians, Carson's approval could change a life overnight. A successful set on The Tonight Show could lead to national tours, acting roles, and years of bookings. But Leno did not become an instant superstar. He kept returning.
Oh, I've had a relationship with all my guys. I can't sell anything. Oh, no, I never sell anything. Oh, God.
He wrote more material. He toured constantly. He built a clean, accessible style that could work in clubs, corporate events, Las Vegas showrooms, and national television. Other comedians might have been more experimental. Some were considered more dangerous or artistically fashionable. Jay was reliable. And in television, reliability is its own form of power. When Carson needed someone to guest host The Tonight Show, Leno became one of the regular choices. He could deliver the monologue, speak with celebrities, manage unpredictable moments, and keep the machinery moving. Once again, the boy who struggled to read in school had found himself inside one of the most script-dependent jobs in entertainment. Night after night, he had to process jokes, cue cards, introductions, names, and last-minute changes under intense time pressure. He did not overcome dyslexia by pretending it did not exist. He compensated with preparation.
These are all Bugattis. Everything here is on the street.
Writers reportedly learned how he preferred material presented. Leno rehearsed. He repeated. He worked longer. What looked effortless at 11:35 every night was built on a private system designed by someone who had spent his life refusing to be exposed as inadequate. Then came the decision that changed late-night television. In 1992, Johnny Carson retired. Many viewers assumed David Letterman, the innovative host of NBC's Late Night, would inherit The Tonight Show. Letterman had critical respect, a devoted audience, and a powerful relationship with the network's younger viewers. But NBC chose Jay Leno. The decision created bitterness from the beginning. Letterman left NBC for CBS and launched The Late Show directly against Leno. For a time, Letterman appeared to be winning. Critics preferred him. The media treated him as the more intelligent and original host.
All right. I mean, it's true. I go, so where do you go to school? You know, what am I going to say to you?
Leno was often portrayed as safe, conventional, and corporate. Then, Leno's ratings began to rise. One important turning point came from his interview with Hugh Grant after the actor's highly publicized arrest in 1995. Leno opened with the blunt question millions of viewers wanted answered: "What the hell were you thinking?" The moment became television history. But the victory was larger than one interview. Leno eventually took control of the late-night ratings and held the lead for much of his tenure. He turned The Tonight Show into a dependable commercial machine. Every weekday brought another monologue, another group of guests, another opportunity to fail in front of millions. And Jay kept showing up. There was something almost mechanical about his schedule. He hosted television while continuing to perform stand-up on weekends. Even after becoming wealthy, he reportedly lived on his comedy income and saved the money he earned from television.
Getting together and building the car.
Well, the great fun is getting together and building the car. And once you finish it, you move on to the next project.
Rare cars worth millions, yet his personal habits remained famously frugal. He did not seem interested in luxury for the sake of appearing luxurious. Cars were different. Cars were not simply trophies. They were problems to solve, histories to preserve, and machines to understand. Still, success created a new danger. When a person builds his identity around proving people wrong, what happens after he has already proven them wrong? The counselor who doubted him was gone. The teachers who underestimated him no longer mattered. The clubs that once rejected him would now advertise his name in giant letters. But the work did not slow down, because by then Jay was no longer working toward a finish line. Work had become the finish line. In 2004, NBC announced a plan that seemed designed to avoid another succession war. Conan O'Brien, who had taken over late night after Letterman's departure, would become host of The Tonight Show in 2009. Leno would step aside. The announcement was made 5 years in advance. Everyone had time to prepare. At least, that was the theory. Leno publicly accepted the decision. But NBC was afraid he might move to a competing network and defeat Conan in the ratings. So instead of allowing him to leave, executives created a new program, The Jay Leno Show, airing 5 nights a week at 10 p.m. It was an extraordinary experiment. A low-cost comedy show would replace expensive scripted dramas. If successful, it could transform network television. It was not successful. The show attracted viewers, but local NBC stations complained that its weak ratings harmed the audiences for their late-night news broadcasts. Meanwhile, Conan's Tonight Show was also struggling compared with the numbers NBC had enjoyed under Leno. Executives panicked. Their solution was to move Leno's show to 11:35 and push The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien to 12:05. Conan refused. What followed was one of the ugliest public collapses in television history. For weeks, late-night hosts turned the conflict into open warfare. Conan joked about NBC. David Letterman attacked both the network and Leno. Jimmy Kimmel appeared on Leno's own show and mocked him directly. The public narrative became brutally simple. Jay Leno had given Conan The Tonight Show. Then Jay Leno had taken it back. The reality was more complicated. NBC executives controlled the schedule. They had created the primetime experiment, responded to pressure from local stations, and proposed the changes. But Leno accepted the return. And in public perception, that made him the villain. This crisis was different from every obstacle he had faced before. You can outwork an empty comedy club. You can prepare harder for a television monologue. You can save money, arrive early, and perform another set. But how do you repair the belief that millions of people now see you as selfish? Leno attempted to explain his position. He said he had followed NBC's decisions and had not deliberately plotted to remove Conan. For many viewers, the explanation did not matter. Conan left NBC with a major settlement and eventually moved to TBS. Leno returned to The Tonight Show. He regained much of the audience. But something had changed. The ratings victory could not completely erase the reputational damage. To some people, Leno would always be the man who refused to walk away. And perhaps that accusation hurt because it came uncomfortably close to a deeper truth. Jay Leno really did not know how to walk away. Not necessarily because he wanted to hurt Conan. Not simply because he needed more fame or money. but because stepping away meant entering unfamiliar territory. Without the next show, the next set, the next engine, or the next task, who was he? Leno remained at The Tonight Show until 2014. This time, the transition to Jimmy Fallon was warmer and far less chaotic. During his final episode, Leno became emotional. He thanked the viewers. He spoke about members of his family who had died during his years on the program. The man known for controlling a room with jokes struggled to control his voice. For a moment, the machinery stopped. Then he left the desk. But he did not retire. He continued touring as a stand-up comedian. He developed Jay Leno's Garage, turning his private automotive obsession into another television career. He interviewed collectors, tested machines, explored engineering history, and introduced audiences to everything from steam cars to modern supercars. The Garage was more than a storage building. It was a physical map of his mind. Each vehicle represented craftsmanship, survival, restoration, and motion. Many were machines other people would consider too old, too complicated, or too impractical to save. Jay saw potential, perhaps because he had once needed someone to see the same thing in him. Then came the fire. On November 12, 2022, gasoline ignited while Leno was working beneath the steam car. He suffered severe burns and was treated at the Grossman Burn Center. Doctors performed surgical procedures, including skin grafting. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy was used during his treatment. Images later showed Leno inside a chamber, his face swollen and heavily bandaged. The injuries were serious. Yet even inside the hospital, he reportedly tried to keep the mood light. He gave cookies to children receiving treatment. He joked with staff. He asked about returning to work. Only days after being discharged, Leno appeared before photographers. The visible damage was astonishingly limited compared with what might have happened. But recovery from burns is not only cosmetic. It involves pain, wound care, restricted movement, and the psychological shock of remembering how quickly ordinary work turned into disaster. Most people would avoid the garage. Jay returned. Then, in January 2023, approximately 2 months after the fire, he was riding a motorcycle when he noticed the smell of leaking fuel. He turned down a side street and encountered a wire stretched across a parking area. He did not see it in time. The wire caught him and knocked him from the motorcycle. He suffered multiple broken bones, including fractures to his collarbone, ribs, and kneecaps. Once again, he went to the hospital. Once again, he required treatment, and once again, he returned to performing with remarkable speed. The incidents became punchlines in his act. He joked that the motorcycle accident was less dramatic than the fire, so he initially kept it quiet. He transformed pain into material before the audience could transform it into pity. That instinct had been with him since childhood. Make them laugh first. Control the story. Never remain helpless long enough for someone else to define you. But the most painful chapter of Jay Leno's later life may not have happened beneath a car or on a motorcycle. His wife, Mavis, began suffering from advanced dementia. Jay and Mavis married in 1980. They never had children and remained together through his rise from touring comedian to television institution. In public, Leno had spent decades playing the ordinary married man, often building jokes around domestic life. Away from the stage, their relationship became the center of a much quieter struggle. As Mavis's condition worsened, Leno sought legal conservatorship over her estate so he could protect her interests and manage future arrangements. Court documents and public statements revealed a different side of the relentless performer. He was not simply returning to comedy because he craved applause. He was caring for the person who had been beside him before the ratings victories, before the Tonight Show battles, and before the garage became famous. The man who survived by staying in motion now faced an illness no amount of work could repair. There is no carburetor to adjust, no joke to rewrite, no engine part to replace. Dementia does not negotiate with discipline, and perhaps that explains why Leno continues performing. On stage, cause and effect still function. Tell a joke, receive a laugh, enter the garage, identify a problem, turn a wrench, care for his wife, even when she may not remember every moment they shared. Keep moving, because stopping would mean confronting everything motion has kept at a distance. Jay Leno's story is often reduced to 3 images: the enormous chin, the Tonight Show desk, the car collection. But beneath those images is a boy who was told he was not built for academic success, a young comedian who spent years performing without certainty, a host who won the ratings but lost part of the public's affection, and an aging man who survived fire, broken bones, and personal heartbreak without surrendering the habit that had protected him since childhood. Work, it saved him from shame. It created his fortune. It gave structure to his talent. It helped him survive rejection. But it may also be the one thing he cannot put down. There is an old idea that success finally makes a person feel safe. Jay Leno's life suggests something more complicated. Sometimes success does not silence the voice that once said you were not good enough. It simply gives you a larger stage on which to argue with it. Night after night, joke after joke, car after car, even when your face has been burned, even when your bones have been broken, even when the person you love is slowly losing pieces of the life you built together. You return to the microphone. You open the garage. You find the next thing that needs fixing. And maybe that is Jay Leno's greatest strength. Or maybe it is the price he has paid for becoming Jay Leno. So here's the question. When someone spends an entire lifetime proving that he cannot be defeated, how does he recognize the moment when he no longer needs to prove anything? Perhaps Jay already knows the answer. Perhaps returning to work is not denial. Perhaps it is devotion to comedy, to machines, to his wife, and to the life he once believed he might never be capable of building. The child who struggled to read eventually spoke to millions. The mechanic who repaired engines became wealthy enough to preserve automotive history. The comedian who survived public humiliation regained his audience, and the 72-year-old man who caught fire beneath a steam car walked back onto a stage before most people would have been ready to leave their house. Jay Leno has spent his life refusing to stop. The only mystery left is whether he is still running toward something, or whether after all these years he is still running from the voice that once told him he would never amount to much. Which part of Jay Leno's story surprised you most? His childhood struggle with dyslexia, the battle over The Tonight Show, his return after 2 devastating accidents, or the private responsibility he now carries while caring for his wife? Share your answer in the comments and subscribe, because the next familiar face we explore may be hiding a story even more complicated than the one the world remembers.